Hey everyone, this is Mr. Beckstrom, and today we're going to be looking at an example of completing the square. This is a way to solve quadratics, which are second degree polynomials. That's where the highest degree is 2, and it's one of the few methods that we have for solving it. Other methods include the quadratic formula and just factoring using the FOIL methods, but this is a little bit different. So let's go ahead and go through this one. So we notice that the constant is already on the right-hand side. So if it wasn't, I would put the constant over there first. So for example, if this was x squared plus 8x minus 48 is equal to 0, I would have added 48 to both sides. Now, I'm going to take a look at the first two terms here, the x squared term and the x term. Now, if there's a number in front of the x squared term other than 1, then we would need to factor out that number from both of these terms. But in this case, there's not. There's just a 1 in front of the x squared term, so we are good to go. So we're going to go ahead and write x squared plus 8x. And then I'm going to leave this part blank, and we're going to say that's equal to 48. 48. All right, so, excuse my writing, but now we need to find that magic number. The magic number is the number that we can add to both sides that is going to allow us to complete the square, which will then allow us to write this quadratic as a binomial squared. That means it's going to be like x plus 3 squared or x minus 2 squared. A binomial is just when you have two terms and then parentheses around them, and then you're going to square it. All right, so in order to find that, we take the coefficient of the x term. So in this case, it's a positive 8. I will take that, and the process is first we divide by 2, and then we square it. So in this case, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So 16 is the number that we need to be able to write this as a binomial squared. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. 16 plus 16. All right, now let's go ahead and write this as our binomial squared. So this is going to be x plus, it's a plus because this is positive here, and we're going to take the number that we first got when we divided by 2 before we squared it. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, so that's our the second half of our binomial, and then we're going to square that binomial, so put parentheses around it, squared, and this here, if you were to factor that back out, you would get this whole side of the equal sign, and this is going to be equal to 48 plus 16 is 64. 64. Okay, now we have this term here, or this binomial squared by itself. There's no numbers out front. There's nothing adding or subtracting outside of that binomial. So that's where we want to be, so we can take the square root of both sides. So if I take the square root of both sides, on the left, that just cancels out the squared, so I'm going to get x plus 4. And on the right, we're going to take the square root of 64. Now remember, since we're also taking the square root of a variable, we need to use plus or minus. So plus or minus 8. That's the square root of 64. So now we have two equations. I'm going to put the first equation over here, which is just x plus 4 is equal to positive 8. And over here, x plus 4 is equal to negative 8. Because we have a plus and a minus. That gives us two equations there. All right, so here we're just going to subtract 4 from both sides, and we're going to get x is equal to 4. And on the right here, we're just going to also subtract 4 from both sides, which means x is equal to negative 8 minus 4 is minus 12, negative 12. And those are our two solutions. If you have any questions, please let me know, and take care.